Does life actually get better? How do you come back / get better from being lonely and extremely depressed? How do you create meaningful relationships when you are so screwed up? You can't live a meaningful life in a day, but you can have a slightly better day at a time. Strive towards having a better day first. Start with one conversation, one relationship at a time, and give yourself time to grow and get results. Consistent effort is what it takes to be better. I'm late, so this will probably get buried. In 2008 I lost my job. All I could get right away was McDonald's, so I took it, but it wasn't enough to pay all my bills. My car was repossessed, I got kicked out of my apartment, and I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me all within the space of a month or so. It was the lowest period of my life. I struggled with depression, considered suicide. It just wasn't a good time. I was homeless, but I had good friends who gave me a place to stay, so I was never actually on the streets. It took a while, but today I have a good job. I apprenticed in the tool and I trade and I make good money for a guy who barely graduated high school and never went to college. I'm married and my home life is stable. It's not perfect, life never is, but I'm far better than I was. I hope everyone in this thread who is struggling is able to find a way to better days as well. Go to therapy / counseling. The other suggestions are great, but I don't think these people understand what it's like to go through depression. You don't merely snap out of it by doing the things they suggested. Find a good therapist, and if you cannot afford one, look for support groups of others who are also experiencing depression, and talk about your struggles with them. Mental health counseling, along with the things the others have mentioned, will go a long way. I don't know if life gets better or you get better. I've struggled with depression for most of my life. The thing is that my mental toils grow stronger with every other struggle I have to deal with. Summers used to make me extremely happy. Well, content is maybe a better word, because I could only be focused on work and making money. College was horrible, because it took almost 6 years and the only thing I envisioned my diploma to be was a giant question mark instead of a marker of success. I was tired, angry and overwhelmed for those 6 years. I thought about killing myself a couple times because of all the strain. But I thought that if I killed myself, I wouldn't have known if I'd have finished school. But school was so difficult to complete. Your whole life you hear that a degree brings happiness and success. It doesn't, but school is done with. Do I have a career to show for it? A nice new car and a house? No. I have debt, but at the same time I'm carefree. So to answer your question, depression might not go away, but you will mature and things will get easier. But it's never truly gone. Think of yourself like a car. A car needs oil, gas, brake fluid, transmission fluid, coolant, good tires, etc. Your body needs 26 vitamins and minerals to 100% of your daily value, ample protein and essential fatty acids plus fiber. It needs daily exercise to rebuild and maintain itself. It needs to be in a good environment to keep in condition. Can a car drive when all its fluids are half level? Yes, but it will struggle, overheat, break down faster, etc. Likewise, you can survive with half of your needs, but you will struggle and break down faster than you should. Once you satisfy the basics, then you can focus harder on improving your financial and social situations. There's a reason people usually don't befriend bums on the corner. It's because they tend to weight us down with their problems. I have problems too. I can't take on the problems of a stranger. People won't want to befriend / date you if you can't manage your problems. It starts with yourself first. Self-talk, CBT, diet / nutrition / exercise / health. Health before wealth. All forms of wealth. I call this the whirlwind approach. You start with what's closest to you and move outwards. In this case, you start with what's in you. You are nothing but a collection of nutrition, protein, fat, minerals and vitamins bind you together. Exercise builds you and keeps you glued together. Your thoughts control everything you do, and your version of reality, CBT, your self-talk is everything. Medication can be useful. I consider it as a band-aid or crutch. These are good things. They help you heal. Some people need more than a band-aid or a crutch OBV. Medication will not cure you, but it can help you. You need to take action. Whether you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right, in 95% of cases. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. Einstein. Everything in life is temporary. Good times, bad times, all temporary. But if you were happy you would never think to yourself, wow, this happiness is gonna last forever and will never change. When depressed we have a tendency to think nothing will ever change. But this is the source of the depression. You need to abandon the narratives you've created for yourself. You aren't some weirdo who is screwed up. Most people in your situation would likely become depressed. Hence why it's endemic and suicide is the biggest killer of young men. You are just a normal person. You're not the problem. It's our sick shitty world. You're just reacting appropriately to it. It all changed for me when I started to view my depression and anxiety as non-narratively. They weren't a sign of weakness or failure. It was an underlying functional problem with my biology and thinking. It wasn't anything to be ashamed about. Indeed, it's not an emotion-inducing event. Depression, like all disease, is morally neutral. Risk factors of depression aren't things like bad personality or boring or dumb. Risk factors for depression are things like lack of physical activity, poor diet, genetics, and statements about you as a person. It took years, but slowly I changed how I thought. I did some great cognitive behavioral therapy. I started to become aware of the thoughts that went through my head and aware of how those thoughts would trigger negative emotion. By simply observing and discarding those thoughts I can stop tormenting myself. The biggest thing you can do is be kind to yourself. Give yourself a break. You're going through a really tough time. My rule when self-talking is never say anything to myself I wouldn't say to a friend. I'm a friend to myself. I take care of myself. I don't tell myself empathetic for this or that anymore. Another thing I really remember my therapist saying, act don't feel. If you wait until you feel like going out to a coffee shop, you will never go. The act of going is what will make you feel better. Lack of activity is strongly linked to depression. It's why anxiety often leads to depression. Your brain wants to act, but you are too afraid. So you do nothing. And that act of thinking about doing something and then not doing it sends bad signals. Humans want to be free and have agency. It's a long road, but you need to learn to love yourself. You're worth it. We all are. We are not weak because of this shit. And one day this rough patch in life will become your armor. Every time life gets rough I remind myself it's a cakewalk compared to the shit I've been through. Literally nothing can hurt me anymore really. Relationships happen because you have a life to share. So don't go looking for it. Build a life for yourself first. Self-improvement, exercise, nutrition. Get a plant or pet and bond with it, so you have some form of responsibility and a reason to become more disciplined. Once you've sorted out the basics, find what would make you happy or proud of yourself, and actively chase down that dream. Sometimes it helps to remember that you could put yourself in an absolute hell if you left things deteriorate. So spend a bit of time contemplating how easily things could get way worse if you did nothing. Just don't ever forget, you have something to contribute to life. Even if others cannot or do not appreciate what you are doing. Every small step helps. Give it time. As a last piece of advice, do a year of yes. If someone asks you to do something, and you cannot immediately think of a proper argument to say no, say yes and go do it. I've been living with severe clinical depression. I could claim disability if I needed to, for almost 30 years now. 2 more and I can celebrate my first clinical diagnosis. Therapy and medication. Sure, exercise and eating healthy help, but they don't help like people who were once sad and then went outside think they do. They can take you from a 2 to 2.5. They can't heal you. Therapy and medication is where you'll get your help. You need to learn how to think and also get the right meds to fix your brain chemistry. Medications are also not an exact science. Some may work in the short term, others may not seem to help at all until one day they do. Keep an open line of communication with your mental health provider as they may need to adjust dosage. You find yourself someone or something that makes you happy. I can be a partner or a simple pet. Maybe a leopard gecko or a cat. Everything that lives longer than 10 years might not be that bad. Find someone to talk to or hang out. He/she doesn't need to be a relationship, just someone who is open and can listen to you and that you trust. For me that would be my gaming buddies I met while playing But if you are alone and very shy, I recommend maybe a pet. Leopard geckos are cheap and low maintenance. Of course there are a lot others, but a pet that you can take in your hand, pet and talk to works wonders and will build confidence. Important is that you aren't alone. For me at least, loneliness is the worst thing, because my depression starts really kicking through then. Maybe this helped. Maybe not. It's just what I did, and it helps a lot. D.